Will be harder and more expensive to live in South Florida over the next 30 years. Stronger storms and sea level rise will bring in more flooding.
And next week, the price you pay will go up for most new FEMA flood insurance policies. NBC6 investigator Phil Prazan looks at updated data showing flood risk.
South Florida knows flooding is not just a threat for beachfront properties. 8 miles inland, the city of Opa-locka sees plenty.
It always rains in Opa-locka. 9 times out of 10, this street will flood.
When storms come, Northwest 30th Street fills up and water rushes on to nearby properties. Here's video we captured last year as floodwaters came through the same neighborhood after heavy rains.
We can have water to the wall.
Cooney tells us her family members will avoid visiting just because they worry about getting caught in the water.
It's not going to get better. It's definitely going to get worse. All of this.
When we talked to her, you could see where water piled up trash and debris and water damage on nearby houses.
Economically, somebody is going to lose their home because they're going to have to decide, am I going to pay these high insurances? Or am I just not going to have insurance and lose everything?
There are stacks of data when it comes to flooding and climate change. The nonprofit First Street Foundation compiles data in flood factor and ranks properties in South Florida 1 through 10 based on their flooding risk over the next 30 years. Cooney's neighborhood is full of 6s. And if you zoom out, you get a better understanding of how vulnerable South Florida is.
The property owners will see increased risk.
Ed Kearns used to be the chief data officer for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and now compiles the updated data for First Street Foundation. Over the next 30 years, he says, heavier rainfall and a higher water table from sea level rise will put our flood system to the test.
These engineered systems do have breaking points. And to not expect the same level of protection that you've enjoyed over the last 30 years without changes to the system as it is today.
In Opa-locka, Cooney expects it to become harder and more expensive to live here.
Depending on what neighborhood you live in, flooding will be your norm.
Some homeowners could see a change already next week. FEMA begins its Risk 2.0 on October 1st for new policies. Now, that is a new way to measure risk. According to a FEMA fact sheet, 77% of new policies will see an increase in monthly premiums. Why? Because it hasn't been updated in 50 years. And over that time, the program has collected $60 billion in premiums, but paid out $96 billion in reimbursement for flood damage. Every FEMA policy will change next April. Phil Prazan, NBC6 News.